So in preparing the talk about the future, I wanted to start by talking a little bit about the past, specifically about my past. This is me around 1976. I was probably about 5 years old then. I was a mischievous little boy. I loved comic books and I loved drawing. I draw all the time. I drew all the time growing up. I still draw to this day. These are some of my early works on paper. You'll notice the early grasp of the form of Spider-Man. I definitely advanced quickly in my understanding of human anatomy. I think this is the Hulk fighting Batman, and I believe that's the Flash over there. I displayed an early interest in typography over here, and then this one is just. I don't think it was ever fully resolved. I'm a little bit embarrassed by it, but it's here. So as I was looking for this artwork to show you today to talk about how I got into art in general, I stumbled across this little gem, and I know you can't see it too well, especially from the back of the room. So this is a standardized test I took in October of 1977. I was 6 years old at the time, and this is proof positive of why standardized testing is so wrong for our kids today. So if you can kind of see this, word knowledge and word analysis, I'm at a 9, reading an 8, total reading 9. This is mathematics. I'm at a 3. So very, very early on in life, I was told, kid, you're not going to do math. You're going to do art. So I kind of went with that, and it's what's been driving me forward ever since then. So again, I was a kid growing up in the 70s, so one of the things that I was into was Star Wars at the time. And in 1978, I got this book that really kind of had a huge impact on me. It was the script of Star Wars, along with a lot of production drawings. And in the back of it, they had a huge section about the marketing of Star Wars, because at the time, Star Wars was the most heavily marketed movie ever. And they had all these posters of the international, like the release in France or in Israel or wherever, as well as the promo posters and the one-year anniversary poster and stuff that was done specifically for the fan club, because before there was Twitter, you had to sign up for fan clubs back then. And so it was it was design, and it was how the system played out, and how there was a real look to Star Wars, and how it was really my first experience of the sort of the breadth and the scope of graphic design. And of course, at the same time during the 70s, I'm a 6-year-old boy, and I'm listening to Kiss at the time, because they were the biggest band in the world, right? They were like superheroes that played rock music. And I remember this was one of the first albums I ever bought, and I would sit there and listen to the record and look at the album cover art, because that's what we did back then. And this is another example of like illustration meeting graphic design sort of influencing me at a very, very early age. So, they say rock and roll's a gateway drug, and it really was, because I tend to gravitate toward these bands that had very distinctive visual styles, and not only distinctive visual styles, but sort of a design system that played out album after album after album. And as you can tell, I sort of went toward this really more grim kind of place. And that really sort of manifested itself in my later works on paper. And so this is some high school artwork. It's all pencil on paper. This was a mimeograph back then. And you can tell that I was just only one more step away from developing a love and appreciation of the horror genre. So all throughout high school and all throughout college, I was into the works of Wes Craven, Sam Raimi, Tobe Hooper, George Romero, and they were my heroes. They were my rock stars back then. I loved horror movies. I consumed them like nothing else. And to this day, I still love the horror genre, because it's fun to be afraid when you know that fear is going to be over in 2 hours. It's a good rush to get. So I went to design school, and I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in graphic design, and then moving down here to DC in 1994, which is almost 20 years ago, which scares me to this day, to work at a place called Magnet Interactive. And Magnet was a shop in town that at the time was probably one of the largest pure interactive companies in the country. It had about 200 people. And I was fortunate enough to work there and work on the very, very first websites, that's how old I am, for some of these organizations. So Matchbox Cars, Kellogg's Cereal, and Crayola. And it was fun because you're dealing with creativity and kids and games and color, and I was able to actually reconcile my past with what I was doing. It's great because this was a cereal, that Rice Krispies with marshmallows, like that's necessary, but but it was a sound game like Simon, where you're matching the colors and the sounds, and I used it as an opportunity to get a reference to Kiss in there. And it's, like, back then, that was the shit you tried to sneak by on a client, right? I mean, because they didn't know, and it was just like, oh, the internet site. I think this was like 1997, and it took me forever on the Wayback Machine to actually find a screenshot, because I probably have screenshots of this on a zip drive, which no longer exists, by the way. So, you know, I worked at Magnet for 5 years, and 14 years ago, I started this shop called 3Spot. And over our history at 3Spot, we really kind of ended up working for really cause-based organizations that are about trying to achieve real change in the world. So the arc of my career has been from working for these great brands that are doing like really, really fun stuff for kids to dealing with these brands that are dealing with really serious issues in the world today. And this actually, up until about a week and a half ago, and Joel can attest to this was what my talk was going to be about. It was about the future of us as creatives and the social change and social entrepreneurship movement that's going on right now with like Tom's Shoes and Warby Parker, and how we as creatives can help be the engines to fuel that kind of change. Somewhere along the way, I had a mental break, and that was not the talk about the future I wanted to have. I actually wanted to reach back further into the past, into my past, and my love of horror movies, and talk about how it's charted my life as a creative and the way I interact with teams. And these horror movies helped me build the valuable life skills that have helped me navigate my 20-year career at this point in time. So I'm here to talk to you about tips for surviving a zombie apocalypse, or what the living dead can teach you about a future career in creative services. Just a heads up, there is some zombie killing action in this. So if anybody's particularly squeamish, there's not a lot of it. I've toned it down from before. There's also some pervasive language, and there's possible copyright infringement along the way. So just heads up. So, you know, I would like to say, like, put myself above it all, that I have not made any of these mistakes in my career. I have made these mistakes in my career. I will continue to make these mistakes. But it's about being mindful of what it is that you can do to help correct these things in the future and as you're moving on. So back to math, and remember, my math skills, not so good. So I'm going to break it down really, really simple. The way I see it is that there is a team, and they have a problem that they need to tackle, and then there's a solution that needs to be achieved. This is the way all teams operate. This is very common in zombie movies. There is a team of survivors, right? And there's a problem that is the zombies, and that the solution can be anything like shotguns or chainsaws or things like that. And for us as creatives, there's us, and there's the client problem, the challenge, the job, and then hopefully magic ensues and we get awards and everybody's happy. And you would also need to understand that the solution does not always equal a plan. Like what it is you want to do, the goal, what it is you're trying to achieve, what the end is, does not necessarily mean dictate or mean what you're gonna do to get there. And that's my first point. You must plan. You must have a plan. The one thing I learned from zombie movies, those guys without a plan, they're the first ones to go, right? They're the first ones to get eaten. Zombies can't plan. It's the one thing we have over top of them. It's one of those edges. And this is Max Brooks, who wrote the Zombie Survival Guide. And for those of you who can't read it, it has been proven time and again that our greatest advantage over the undead is our ability to think. The mental capacity of the average zombie ranks somewhere beneath that of an insect. So even me, with my level 3 stay 9 in math, can outsmart a zombie. I can do better than that. So, and one other thing I've learned from these zombie movies, like going to the mall is a plan. That's actually a plan. It's a good plan for a zombie invasion. It's a good plan for a rainy Saturday afternoon as well. So that's another good point, that a plan should be scalable. It should be good for any size crisis, okay? And same thing goes for your career. You need to have a plan for your career. This plan does not need to last forever. It can be a short-term plan. It can just going to get through the day, just going to make it through the day today. That's all I need to do. That's not a plan. That's not a sustainable plan. Neither is living review to review. You need to have a good 3 to 4 or 5 year plan and establish long-term and short-term goals for yourself. And one last thing, always leave an escape route.
The cellar. The cellar, there's only one door, right? Just one door, that's all we have to protect. Bomb like this, it's sort of locks and boards from the inside. But up here, all these windows, why, we never know where they were going to hit us next.
You got a point, Mr. Cooper. But down in the cellar, there's no place to run to. I mean, if they did get in, there'd be no back exit. We'd be done for. We can get out of here if we have to. And we got witnesses to see what's going on outside. But down there, with no witness, if a rescue party did come, we wouldn't even know it.
But the cellar is the strongest place.
The cellar is a death trap.
The cellar is a death trap. Never hide in the cellar. Even my 5-year-old knows this. I'll send him downstairs to get something out of the fridge. He won't go to the cellar by himself. So the cellar is dark. It's scary. Nothing good ever happens in the cellar. There's one way out. So one of the characters in this clip's like, yeah, there's only one way out. And that's bad. You know, it seems like it's a strength, right? Oh yeah, there's only one way out. We only have one place to defend. But the problem with it is there's only one way out, and that's the same thing for your career. You need to keep an open mind and open doors. It's the same thing for projects. You need to keep an open mind and open doors. That's not you don't need to keep too many doors open because that actually inhibits your ability to make decisions. But always keep an open mind. Remain calm. Do not lose your shit. Now is not the time to lose your shit. The one thing zombie movies have taught me is the guys who freak out, don't be like that guy. You want to be like this guy. You want to be like the 6'8" ex-cop with the shaved head and the scar. Because that guy is cool as a cucumber. You know he knows how to use that shotgun. You want to be like that guy. Stick with him. When it comes time to pick teams, make sure you're standing right next to that guy. Because he will see you through some deep shit, right? You want to be like him. The dead are walking the earth, and he's like, I've seen this before. I can handle this, right? So he doesn't panic, so don't panic. Same thing goes with client work. We solve problems. We drop in, we do the job, and we move on to another problem, just like that guy does. It's a calling. We've, for some reason, chosen this profession that we're like therapists. We deal with other people's problems, and it's something we love to do. Develop new skills. During the zombie apocalypse, the only fast food is you. So you need to pick up new skills. You need to think about acquiring, hunting and gathering type skills. You need to think about maybe going vegan because the animal population is going to be declining rapidly. You might want to think about figuring out how many calories are in a cricket because you know what? You're going to need to keep your energy up while you're being chased by the living dead. And same thing goes for your creative energy. You always need to be learning something. Whatever it is you're learning and you're working on should not be your primary skill. I'm a designer by trade, and being a better designer, that just comes with the territory. You should constantly be improving upon your primary skill. What I'm talking about is finding different things that are outside of your skill set. So being a proficient at Photoshop, that doesn't count. I'm talking about taking a pottery class, learning a martial art, going to an art museum. Because in this city, we have a lot of that, and it's really, really cheap, or it's free in some cases. And we need to take advantage of it. It's part of what makes DC special. Avoid open conflict. No arguing. The one thing I've learned by watching zombie movies is the louder you are, the easier it is for the 12 million zombies to find you. And I'm not good at math, but 12 survivors is definitely less than 12 million zombies. So it's the sort of whole never, ever, ever go looking for a fight is the point. Because it's like that, it's the one guy, right? The guy who's the reluctant leader, like, I'm the leader, I don't want to be the leader. And it's his friend who wants to be the leader, who's constantly challenging his authority. They fight all the time. And you know what happens? It ends up in an unhappy ending. Their conflict gets the whole team taken down. Everybody gets eaten. We've seen the horror movie before. The unhappy ending, right? Roll credits, sad. Sometimes in our careers as creatives, conflict is unavoidable. We're bringing about change, right? So there's going to be a conflict of ideas, and that's going to happen. It's natural to the process. What I'm saying is you need to avoid it for its own sake. So there are guys out there, like Cousin Merle here, who just love conflict. They will fight anybody. They're mad dogs, and they might need to be put down, right? But you need to avoid being like that or avoid working with people like that. And there's a time and a place to confront someone. And normally it's not in the thick of a project. You know, pick your battles, pick your time and your place, and deal with it in a proactive manner. Speaking of proactive, stay positive. Some more zombie eradication.
Holy shit.
So these zombie movies, there's no hope. I mean, you know, society has collapsed. It's never like a small collapse. It's a complete collapse. And these movies are grim, right? And so the one thing that makes some of the films particularly fun is scenes like that where there's moments of levity to sort of like take a break from all the pressure you're under. There's no going back to the way things used to be. It's supposedly this future where society has collapsed, right? And you can't let it get to you. You can't let it get you down. You don't want to be like Jim here. He's the guy that lost his mind, and they had to tie him to a tree in the forest. No one wanted to go near him. No one wanted to talk to him. He was crazy. He was a drag on the team. You don't want to be Jim as well. So we've chosen this path, right? Like we're dealing with these problems, and we can't allow ourselves to freeze up. We've got a looming deadline, a difficult client, or God forbid, a blank screen staring at us. And you need to stay positive. You need to count on yourself and your abilities as a creative individual. And that's why this question is on your name tag. So every morning I look in the mirror and say to myself, and the reason why I ask this question is one of the ex-spots, his name's Wes, and he walked through the office every day, and you'd see him, and he'd be like, "Hey, Wes, what's going on? How's it going?" He'd be like, "Today is going to be a good day," is what Wes would say. And it's been playing on my thoughts for months now, that's what he'd say, no matter what. He'd say it to everybody. And that's a good way to live your life. It's a good way to approach problem solving, that today is going to be a good day, that your skills and your talents are going to help see you through a particular difficult client presentation or a particular creative problem or giving a speech or whatever it might be. Today's going to be a good day. It's not only a good way to think about your work and the good work you're going to achieve, but it's a good way to live your life. Learn to improvise. Attempting to accomplish a task, failing, then by trial and error, discovering a new solution is a skill shared by many members of the animal kingdom, but lost on The Walking Dead. Improv is what we do. We make shit up as creatives. We have to think on our feet an awful lot.
Jeff, I know it's locked. Why is it locked? It's always been locked. Hey, what are we gonna... Oh, no, that's the second time I ever went. No, some of these aren't dated. What was that? It's been Monday. Put your press out. Oh, sorry. Purple rain. No. Sign the top. Definitely not. Demonstrate. Sorry. Oh, Star Wars. No. I like it. Chardonnay. That's Liz's. Yeah, but she did, don't you?
So here's it. You need to learn to improvise because shit will happen. Even the best laid plans, and we know this from zombie movies, even the best, most meticulous laid plans, something is going to go wrong. And monkey wrenches come in all shapes and sizes. The day you have planned out is not necessarily the day you're going to end up having. So you need to learn to improvise. You need to stay focused on your end goal. And as a zombie, that end goal might be to eat brains. As a survivor in a zombie movie, that's to avoid having your brains eaten. And as a creative, it might just be to finish the damn project. But at a certain point, you need to stay focused on that end goal and learn to improvise and think on your feet. Things will go wrong. It's up to you and your team to innovate, collaborate, and yeah, sometimes compromise to get things done. Speaking of working together, rely on your team. So the thing about these zombie movies is society has collapsed. All bets are off. The old structures no longer apply. Now is not the time to go it alone. You need to buddy up. And you remember this guy? The guy was a pain in the ass, right? He's probably an accountant or something like that. And he's going to have different ideas than you are. But you need him and he needs you, because there's going to be times over this zombie apocalypse that you're going to need to, use the bathroom or go to sleep, and somebody's got to watch your back. So you need this guy at a certain point, right? And if all else fails, you just use him as bait. because that might need. Remember this guy though. You need him way more than he needs you, because he will see you through some deep shit, right? He will save you once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. At what point in time does it become like that guy? He doesn't need you because he's always having to save you, right? So you need to prove to this guy that you're a good partner, that you can learn, that you can pick up skills to help yourself become self-sufficient. So you can't always pick your team, right? You have to invest in others. And don't give up too quickly on them. I've seen it happen too many times over my career where some team members write another team member off way too fast, and that's completely wrong. You need ex-cops on your teams, but not only ex-cops. If everybody's a superstar, then there's no opportunities to teach someone else. There's no opportunity to learn from someone else either. Now, I could go on. Zombies are everywhere, though. They could be your boss. They could be your client. They could be your coworker. And they could be you. Zombies are just metaphors. A zombie can be any small issue that, if left unaddressed, can become a real big fucking problem fast. And if all else fails, if none of these things work, you gotta run like hell. Thank you guys very much.